Good morning. Today is Monday, October 6th. This is Wake Up with KERA News, and I'm Andrew Garcia. Warm weather will continue this week. High temperatures will be in the 80s and 90s today, with morning lows for the week mostly in the 60s. A new study found many AFib patients knew nothing about the condition before they were diagnosed and mistook it for something else. We'll learn more after the news. The legal fight over whether newly drawn congressional districts in Texas can be used in next year's midterm elections continues this morning in El Paso. KTEP's Aaron Montes reports on expert testimony over the weekend.
University of California political science professor Matt Barreto on Saturday testified the state's new map was an example of racial gerrymandering. He said Texas lawmakers created 5 new seats that favor Republicans by carving up Hispanic and Black congressional districts. Civil rights organizations seeking an injunction say that's illegal gerrymandering. The state of Texas argues the maps were drawn based on political party affiliation, which the Supreme Court has allowed. Attorneys for the state of Texas questioned Barreto about his team's methodology for analyzing Texas voter data and determining how the new congressional districts were illegally drawn. I'm Aaron Montes in El Paso.
Governor Greg Abbott has authorized President Trump to deploy Texas National Guard members to other states to protect federal officials. Abbott on social media yesterday said Trump could send 400 members from Texas to locations like Portland, Oregon, and Chicago. A memo from U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the order for the Texas Guard's mobilization, quote, will be effective immediately for an initial period of 60 days, unquote. However, it's unclear how the deployment would proceed. A federal judge yesterday temporarily blocked the deployment of any National Guard units to Oregon. New consumer patient research from the Dallas-based American Heart Association found 62% of patients with atrial fibrillation had no prior knowledge of the condition before being diagnosed. AFib is serious, a condition that can lead to blood clots, stroke, heart failure, and other related complications. In today's Vital Signs, KERA's Sam Baker talked about AFib with Dr. Brian Lay of Texas Health Dallas.
They would have palpitations, they would have fatigue, they feel lightheaded, that something is off, especially when they exercise. They feel like they can't do as much, and they get short of breath with exertion.
And all of that stems from what? What exactly is atrial fibrillation?
The very root of AFib is where your heart beats out of rhythm. The heart is irregular and fast, and in the upper chamber, in layman's term, is going about 300 to 500 beats per minute. So there is no movement of blood. So blood is stagnant. It can thick up and form a clot, hence the risk of a stroke. And because the upper chamber is going so fast, the bottom chamber beats irregularly and chaotically and very fast as well, hence the symptoms of fatigue and dyspnea on exertion. They can't, when they exercise, they get short of breath.
What causes this to begin with?
Well, the most common cause is getting older, and I call this a disease of the privileged. You've lived long enough that now all the wears and tears of life contribute to creating AFib. There's a very small variant called lone AFib that happens in very young people. That's about 1% of the time. The majority of atrial fibrillation is caused by us getting older and having some diseases that can contribute to causing AFib, such as high blood pressure and diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea, and lung disease.
There have been reports that cases of AFib are expected to double by 2030. There are around 6 million or more so now in the U.S. What's driving this?
Well, because our medical technology has gotten so good that people are living longer. And the longer you live, the more likely you are to see this disease. Especially in developed countries, we see much more AFib than third world countries.
Is AFib treatable or curable?
It is modifiable. So I would borrow the same concept from cancer, that if you are AFib free, when you have an ablation done, I would say that you are in remission. And it's important to focus on lifestyle changes in order to keep AFib away, such as controlling your diabetes, controlling your blood pressure, getting treated for obstructive sleep apnea, and most importantly, losing weight. Getting yourself into a heart-healthy place and allowing you to fight Father Time in a way that is meaningful to give yourself better quality of life.
Those are the best guards against AFib?
Yeah, I think that it goes hand in hand. So before you are diagnosed with AFib, you can do all these lifestyle things that we mentioned to try to keep yourself from having AFib or having other diseases down the line. But once you have AFib, proper treatments such as being on a blood thinner, being on medication to control the heart rate to keep you in rhythm, having an ablation done to promote regular rhythm, and then in conjunction with all those things in parallel, to do all of the lifestyle changes in order to keep AFib away.
You said an ablation. What's an ablation?
An ablation is where an electrophysiologist like myself would enter the heart through an IV placed in the groin, and we can modify the substrate by targeting the areas, the pulmonary veins, that harbor the trigger for atrial fibrillation. By keeping the trigger from entering the heart, we can keep AFib away. Furthermore, in the more advanced stages of AFib, where there are more scars developed, we can render these scars inert so that they don't contribute to promoting atrial fibrillation.
Dr. Brian Lay is a clinical cardiac electrophysiologist with Texas Health Dallas and Texas Health Physicians Group. The Rangers have hired Skip Schumacher as their manager, agreeing Friday night to a 4-year contract. Schumacher was National League Manager of the Year in 2023, leading the Miami Marlins to the playoffs that year. The Fort Worth Opera opens its 80th season with a rare stateside appearance by internationally acclaimed tenor Jonathan Tettleman. Pianist and conductor Michael Ricciuti accompanies Tettleman for a recital that includes Italian tenor classics and arias. The one-night-only show happens on Friday at Van Cliburn Concert Hall at TCU in Fort Worth. To see details and more arts events, head to the Go See DFW calendar at KERAnews.org/calendar. Thanks for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. For more news in your inbox, visit KERA.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter. You'll get a more in-depth look into the news with plenty of good morning vibes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KERATX. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.